Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Martino, Puccio, Matt Santangelo alongside you guys. As always, just a quick update sort of video to try and get some content out there and discuss some very interesting news, obviously, that pertains to us and everything that we talk about. Italy have hired Andrea Pirlo to be their next manager. Lots going into this. So we'll start it off with the Pep and Ancelotti side of things, where Maldini and Leonardo tried big game hunting, right? To try and get their manager to kind of change everything with the first team, and I'm sure with the youth levels as well. Pep Guardiola is sort of that ambitious sort of hire. I thought it was awful timing considering why he just left Manchester City to begin with. And regardless of the international play, Italy is an entirely different sort of job compared to some of these other situations across the world where it needs a complete teardown and rebuild for how they do things. And Pep would have had a large part to do with it. It wasn't just the managerial side of things. And rightfully for him, his family, it just didn't make sense. And it was also a tall order to take on right after you just resigned from City. And again, we go over to the Ancelotti side of things. He's already at Brazil. He is going to be managing them for Copa America. He, already didn't really want much to do with the job. We've seen in the past, even before Malaga and Maldini showed up, this national team didn't have a lot of suitors, right? Claudio Ranieri, I want nothing to do with the job. Supposedly Mancini was someone who wanted to come back and get this job. Not a big fan of reunions. I know you aren't either. It would have been very risky. And then we get back to the Andrea Pirlo situation, a name that had been floated out there alongside Antonio Conte. Listen, Maldini, anyone who says that he was just doing this just to do it, to ask Pep and try and save face publicly, you don't understand Paolo Maldini or understand at all on how he operates. He legitimately thought he could convince Pep Guardiola. That's how he thinks. If you disagree with that, you're disagreeing with a fact, but that's whatever, right? There's plenty of idiots out there. The pivot to Andrea Pirlo is what makes people think that to be true. And I think that's just dumb because I think there's always the way of going to aim big and then having a unique, risky idea. And now I'd like to present, before I let you speak, on sort of the narrative with Pirlo and the situation here. International football is very different than club football. Going off of club football experience and what they did there necessarily always isn't the greatest barometer for being a successful international manager. Some guys are worse, some guys are better, blah, 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 right? So we're going into this situation where Pirlo has largely been unsuccessful as a manager, where Sampdoria didn't go well, but one could argue they were awful after him. Juventus, obviously, as well, struggling to win trophies. I think have only won one.
He won two left too.
But yeah, he won two for them, the Supercoppa and Coppa Italia, but also Allegri was the only one to win a trophy with them after that. So he was really getting that Juve job on the downfall. And he got blamed for stuff that really wasn't necessarily his fault. He's a bit more of a modern manager when it comes to style, back four, wingers, attacking. Philosophy-wise, he's good. He makes sense like that. However, this is a nation that has missed 3 straight World Cups. They are going to be in Euro 2028. They have huge Nation Leagues games coming up in the next international breaks. It's a risk. It just is. I'm not saying it's a guarantee hire. It's not a slam dunk. The goal here for the manager is do you want someone long-term to help fix Italy, or do you want a short-term fix to compete and do well in Euro 2028 and hopefully 2030 for the World Cup? My whole thing is you go with a Mancini that backfires. You got a guy back that probably didn't make much sense. You then go the Antonio Conte route. I mean, God, if we're talking about stability, guys, why is Conte even involved in that, in any capacity? Then you come to the Pirlo situation. I would have liked to have tried Palladino. Doesn't seem like he was interested. Supposedly Thiago Motta was reached out to. He said no. It's not that the job is that awful and that nobody trusts Maldini. It's the risk that's also involved in these managers that they're taking.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done.
Your whole career could be going sideways if it doesn't go well for you, right? We see Spalletti get back into managing at the club level because of how bad it went. What is your initial reaction to this after Pep says no to Italy and they quickly move to Andrea Pirlo, who obviously iconic player, club and country? Like it
Yeah.
just like what is your thought?
First off, I really applaud Leonardo and Paolo Maldini going for a big fish, a big prominent figure to essentially revolutionize Italian football, right? From the international level and of course at the club level, right? Because when you bring on someone like a Pep Guardiola, you're not just having him be the coaching side. Institutionally, you're asking for a complete tear down and rebuild, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different job. It's a different job than what he would have typically done in his entire career. Where he's exceeded and won trophies everywhere, right? He's a details day-to-day guy. That's how he builds. He's an artist in that sense. So it would have been a massively different job than anything he's ever done.
Right.
I think the timing of it was wrong for him. He wanted a break. He's had countless jobs. So to those saying that, they can't afford the salary, they wouldn't have been able to get this done. Apparently he was asking for 20 million. Romano and multiple sources said it wasn't even about the money. It was just timing. He wanted to spend time with his family, which I can respect that.
Yeah, of course.
So to then have to go and pivot to an Andrea Pirlo. Now look, Pirlo as a coach, very mixed bag. He started with Juventus's U23 team, then was promoted to being the Juventus coach, won a couple trophies there, and has since been in Turkey, coached back in Serie A or Serie B with, I think, Sampdoria.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's been more recently in Dubai with Dubai United, right? So he doesn't have this lengthy CV of coming into a team, establishing a big project.
Just
and
taking bad jobs.
Right. He seems like he was taking a lot of bad jobs and he wants to coach, right? This is a much different job. And I will say this, I do respect him taking the job because it's not easy. For those saying that really this is the coach we're going for, let me ask you this, because I've heard, why wouldn't they go for Sarri? Sarri's at Atalanta. Why wouldn't they go for De Cherby? De Cherby's at Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Conte again, right? Go for Conte. He had success in 2016. Conte's going to take a sabbatical. And he's not a project manager, in my opinion.
Who the hell knows where Conte goes next, really? Yeah.
There aren't a lot of options. I understand you mentioned Palladino, and there's been a couple other names, Mancini second time around. You and I know those second stints, man, they rarely ever work. Of course, on that topic, you have Mourinho back at Real Madrid. We'll see.
Lippi was terrible.
Leap, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. There's a lot of pressure. My hope, and here's just my hope, that in the short term, Pirlo steadies the ship with Maldini, Leonardo. The ideas don't clash. The ideas are aligned.
Right.
They restructure, retool, and bring some respect back to the federation,
right,
and Italian football as a whole. I think that's the ultimate aim. You qualify for Euro, you make a decent run, you start integrating youth, you reform Italian football, and now maybe in 2 years you say, hey, look, Pirlo didn't maybe get the results as far as winning, a Euro, a World Cup, or whatever the case may be, but did he get it back on track in such a delicate part after missing 3 straight World Cups? I think that's not the ultimate goal, but a pretty reasonable goal to set with Andrea Pirlo becoming the Italian national team coach.
Maldini knows this, and the idea that everybody is putting enormous pressure on these guys is so funny to me, because in one sense, in one angle, people are sitting there saying to themselves, Italy's in shambles. Yeah. Why would anybody want to come here? We're terrible. We're in ruins. How could you do this? As to your point, who are you going to get? Who wants to take the job? Maldini understands what he's taking over at this moment in time. If you can go big and try and start with the greatest manager of all time or another all-time great manager in Ancelotti, you take that swing because you know you can. You know you have that pedigree and respect amongst people to even get them to pick up the phone. Because how many times, like if it's anyone else, do they pick up the phone with Pep? No, they don't. They don't even get an opportunity. It goes quick. They don't think this long. I will tell you this. Maldini had to come into a very delicate situation with Milan. And I'm not even trying to draw the parallels here. But what happened? You're not making Champions League for multiple years. You haven't been competing. They're the laughing stock, laughing stock of Italian football. It's factual. They just were. And Italy is the laughing stock of international football at this current moment. If there is a country that people go and point to make fun of and mock, it's the country that has won 4 World Cups and simultaneously missed 3 straight. Okay? So when you're at your lowest moment, beggars can't be choosers. You don't have the pickings of any manager that you want. You have to get savvy with it. Now, to the other point of like, oh, if you're getting Conte, it goes well with are we sure? Are we really sure about that? Do we think that this is going to go as well as you would think? And especially what happens even if he does well or does not or doesn't do well or wants another adventure? He leaves after 2 years. Pirlo, you can almost guarantee even if he does well, he ain't leaving after 2 years. No way. Why would he? Or who would want him based off of 2 years with Italy doing even decently, right? There, to me, we all know great players don't equate to great managers. We all know that in any sport, coach, right? You know, Magic Johnson, terrible NBA coach. Jason Kidd, not the greatest coach in the world. Sometimes it gets poor like that. Pirlo is just such a smart guy. He just is. I'm not the biggest fan of the hire. It is deflating after the Pep thing. I didn't think we were getting Pep. I never really.
It was a glimmer of hope. Like I was like,
there was like a slim amount of hope. I never said never, but I highly doubted it, and we were right for many reasons. The Pirlo thing, Matt, feels to me either a home run or a flat out stinker. And I'm actually leaning towards saying that this will be a success because expectations are low. And honestly, with this Italian national team, you just have to be pragmatic. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There's no reason to force a 3-back system. You have plenty of players to fit in a 4-back. I know the right-footed center back is an issue, but why can't you do a Cambiaso or a Di Marco on the left side and then, you know, a Calafiori in the back 4 who definitely could play the back 4 better than Bastoni, then a Mancini type next to him, and then Palestra as your right back, and then have your best midfield 3, whether it be Locatelli, Tonali, and whether it's Barella or maybe someone as a different regista. Put in those wingers and athletic players that you have. Give other players an opportunity. There's things that he could tinker with. He doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's also about giving opportunity to other players, which he did at Juve. And that's something that's important. Giovanni Leoni was another one of these players at Liverpool that have been brought up, and these quotes have been mentioned, and how he was with the youth team at Sampdoria, and then he immediately got called up by Pirlo. He's like, "You're playing. I don't care. Go." And I think that's important for the vision moving forward. I don't think Pirlo is going to have this sort of maybe he does have influence in say in other teams and how they do things and what the best idea moving forward is. But we want to sit there and say, oh, well, we need the Baggios of the world to come in and fix Italy. And then meanwhile, when we get our other 2 most iconic players besides Buffon come in and say, we could take this over and put us in the right direction, then all of a sudden everyone's like, no, we don't like it. We don't like this idea. I'm just saying, like, there was no one that Italy could have hired that wasn't Ancelotti or Pep Guardiola that would have gotten no flack.
There's a lot of
no matter who they hired, there was going to be negative comments. Conte, Mancini, Pirlo. Everyone was going to have negative comments in some form.
Look, let me say this. I think there are some easy wins, and let me say easy with some caveats and asterisks, right? Easy wins for Andrea Pirlo to attain with this job. Playing youth. There is talent here. There is quality. We're seeing it in preseason with Milan right now. We're seeing it at the lower levels of Italian football with the U21s, the 20s, the 19s, the 17s. They're going far in their international tournaments. They're developing players. They're developing players that are sought after by other clubs even outside of Italy. So there's clear quality to tap into when it comes to Italian football. It's what we've been saying, getting them to the next level. So there's an easy win. Integrate youth. There's a lot of youth to play. There's a lot of youth quality. in and around Serie A and Serie B and some of these other teams, play them. That's number one. Number two, it's an easy brain trust hierarchy to get behind. How do you not love Paolo Maldini Pirlo? Like, how would you not want to back them as an Italian with this?
Yeah,
It's unlike in prior
and to clarify for people too, by the way, not to cut you off, you're not saying that people don't have a reason to be doubtful.
No,
like,
no,
question
no,
or be
no,
skeptical.
I'm not saying
I know, but just to clarify again,
be skeptical, right? You can be skeptical. You can love them as players, right? When Gattuso took the Italy job, everyone was like, "Look, I love Gattuso as a player, but like, my goodness, like his coaching resume is not great." I get it, but as far as like support and backing, how would you like? Maldini wasn't taking this job from a director standpoint if he didn't truly think he can make an impact and have the autonomy and authority to have real change implemented. That's number one. Number two, Pirlo and Maldini, they know what, at least from being inside winning institutions and organizations, they know what success looks like. At least as players, right? Maldini's never been a coach. He's been a director. He had success at Milan. Took him years to actually step into
Director of the year in Italy. Director of the year.
Right. So those are the positives. Those should be the things that you sort of latch onto. Immediately, if we start seeing young players play, a change in philosophy, style of football that is more modern, and we start seeing some good positive results, that's really what all you can hope for right now. There's too many unknowns. The international game is much different than the club game. We know that. It's a wait and see. At the end of the day, all we can do is back Pirlo as coach now and hope he gets some success. Yeah. Maybe this is his calling. This has been a point that's been raised by many other people. Scaloni and De La Fuente weren't smash hits at the club level, but they've had some pretty good success internationally, I would say. So,
who is Hervé Renard in the club level game?
Yeah,
that doesn't matter. It just is a risk.
Yeah,
I'm not fully convinced, and I think people who want Italy, I think the expectations of people like think that like Italy should be winning the World Cup or something, and it's just like you can't ever say that when it's been 20 years since you played a knockout game at the World Cup. So like, why is the expectation for Maldini and Pirlo coming in and outside of one great tournament run to win in Euro 2020? Like, what else are we going with here?
Yeah,
it's you want a new regime. You want Italian legends that have had recent success within Italian football. By the way, Baggio's just an ambassador. He hasn't been involved in the football level professionally for quite some time. And you get someone like Maldini, who was just fired unceremoniously with Milan, and that has had success. Pirlo's still involved in that stuff. Leonardo now, like the consultant side of things, it's interesting. But Maldini needs to lean on somebody. Buffon has already said no to a role with the national team. I just think that like when it's this dire and they've actually made wholesale changes, everybody will be pushing in the same direction. Yeah. I highly doubt that there will be pushback and one guy rowing forward while the other guy's rowing backward.
You feel like this group of individuals can collaborate.
And I mentioned this before that Maldini was interested in having Pirlo be involved in the youth team. Like I posted that picture of the two of them sitting on the bench. First time like Pirlo has been back at Milanello. Like Maldini values people for who they are, and understands that. Again, like I just think it's like a much different perspective if you follow AC Milan and follow them closely and listen to what this guy does and says. I'm not saying he's going to be a home run of a technical director. I have no idea. Maybe he does well, maybe not. This one is certainly risky off the get-go, but also like contextually, what is he supposed to do? So very interesting. You guys let us know what you think Andrea Pirlo will do with the Azzurri. Risky hire, definitely fascinating, could pay off in the long term. Let us know your thoughts on Paolo Maldini as well getting hired. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on Touchline Table Talks. We really appreciate all the support that we've gotten here on this channel. We're growing pretty well, and as well as that Milan podcast that we talk about AC Milan extensively. If you're new here to this channel, be sure to go and check that out. Again, Italy hire Andrea Pirlo. We will talk to you guys next time.